Did you know not all old Hollywood actors smell good? Most of them were so smelly that even colleagues complained about them, and some were so unhygienic that even media personnel did not like to come close to them. Here are the 20 stars from the golden era who were infamously smelly. Clark Gable. Clark Gable, revered as the quintessential Hollywood leading man, carried with him an infamous secret that tarnished even his legendary charm. Behind the polished exterior and dashing looks, Gable suffered from a debilitating gum infection that forced him into wearing dentures, a necessity that came with an unexpected and repulsive side effect. Those who shared the screen with him later recalled that the dentures unleashed a powerful halitosis that was nothing short of excruciating. His co-star, the illustrious Vivien Leigh, famously detested the idea of sharing even a fleeting kiss with him on set. She would often recount in hushed tones how Gable's breath, laden with the unmistakable odor of his artificial teeth, turned moments of romantic intimacy into an ordeal of discomfort. Colleagues and crew members, ever mindful of the unspoken odor, were quick to blame the dentures for this persistent problem. While Gable's on-screen persona exuded rugged masculinity and irresistible charm, off-screen, his halitosis cast an unflattering shadow. Gossip circulated among the studios, with whispers that no amount of expensive cologne or meticulous makeup could mask the problem. In an era when every detail of a star's image was scrutinized, Gable's struggle with bad breath became one of the most enduring and embarrassing anecdotes of old Hollywood glamour. His plight serves as a stark reminder that even the most iconic figures are not immune to the unyielding realities of personal hygiene. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando, the enigmatic rebel of Hollywood, was celebrated for his groundbreaking performances and magnetic screen presence, yet behind the scenes he was notorious for a secret that few dared mention. As his career progressed, especially in his later years, Brando's disdain for conventional norms extended well beyond his acting technique into the realm of personal hygiene. Colleagues often whispered that the legendary actor had a tendency to forego regular bathing, embracing an unkempt lifestyle that left a lasting, unpleasant impression on those around him. Reports from film sets painted a vivid picture of Brando arriving in the morning with an unmistakable odor that could only be described as raw and unfiltered. Crew members and co-stars alike recounted how his refusal to maintain a traditional grooming routine turned even routine scenes into challenges. The rebellious icon's natural musk, amplified by heavy smoking and erratic eating habits, frequently overshadowed his otherwise electrifying talent. While his innovative approach to acting redefined cinema, his unorthodox hygiene practices earned him as many critics as admirers. In hushed backstage conversations, it was said that Brando's personal care was as unpredictable as his performances, a wild, unbridled force that refused to conform to Hollywood's polished image. His legacy, complex and multifaceted, remains forever intertwined with both his monumental talent and the enduring whispers of his less-than-sterling personal habits. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, the ultimate symbol of Hollywood glamour, carried with her a contrasting tale of beauty marred by shocking personal habits. Behind the sparkling smile and flawless red carpet presence, whispers about Monroe's hygiene became the subject of both scandal and dark amusement. Colleagues and close confidants described her as gungy, with a persistent unpleasant odor that many believed was masked only by an overwhelming layer of heavy perfume. Rumor had it that this lavish fragrance was a desperate attempt to hide a far more unsavory reality. Reports even suggested that the scent of urine mingled with her signature perfume, creating an odor that haunted the backstage and dressing rooms. Insiders spoke candidly about Monroe's lax approach to personal care. It was said that she often roamed her home in soiled attire, leaving behind piles of dirty dishes and evidence of her neglect. Her maids, reportedly overwhelmed by the constant barrage of uncleanliness, even resigned rather than face the challenge of maintaining her chaotic living space. Notorious stories circulated about her irregular bathing habits and a penchant for indulging in messy, unrestrained eating rituals, which only added fuel to the gossip mill. Even her co-stars were said to recoil from the close intimacy of scenes, their discomfort a testament to the pervasive odor that clung to her. In the glitzy world of old Hollywood, Marilyn Monroe's tale remains a cautionary yet captivating narrative of how beauty and neglect can intertwine to create a truly infamous legend. Christian Meyer. In the steamy world of telenovelas, Christian Meyer's rugged charm on Doña Barbara won him legions of fans. And yet, behind the camera, a less glamorous secret simmered. Reportedly, while the series was brimming with passionate kisses between Meyer and co-star Edith Gonzalez, whispers of discontent arose from behind the scenes. According to cast member Paulo Quevedo, the problem was all too literal. Christian's breath was notoriously foul. Quevedo confided that on intimate kiss scenes, the unrefined odor emanating from his co-star's mouth was hard to ignore, a result of what he described as a glaring lapse in personal hygiene. Rumor had it that Meyer simply neglected to take a vital freshening pill before stepping into those romantic encounters, leaving poor Edith to endure the brunt of his halitosis. As the gossip mill churned, whispers spread that Edith herself had once approached a sympathetic colleague, uncertain how to broach the subject without shattering the magic on set. Despite his on-screen allure and smoldering intensity, it appears that Christian's off-camera neglect of basic care marred moments that were meant to be enchanting. In a medium where every detail is scrutinized, this peculiar lapse in hygiene became an indelible part of the telenovela lore, a bittersweet reminder that even the most charismatic stars are not immune to human frailties. Mickey Rourke. Few names in Hollywood evoke as much rugged allure as Mickey Rourke, yet behind that fierce exterior lay a deeply troubled relationship with personal hygiene. According to scandalous reports from sources at The Inquirer, Rourke's body odor and foul breath were as legendary as his on-screen performances. Colleagues frequently described him as having an overpowering, raw scent that could make even the hardiest crew members hold their breath. One insider remarked, "Mickey's a nice guy, but the bottom line is, he smells." Indeed, it was said that Rourke either forgot to shower altogether or was staunchly opposed to using deodorant, leaving a trail of unpleasant aromas in his wake. His trailer became infamous for its disarray and pungent odor. Makeup and wardrobe departments would steer clear of it, likening it to a hazardous waste dump. Like a modern-day pigpen from the Peanuts comics, Rourke was lovable, yet undeniably dirty, a fact that caused directors to overlook his hygiene shortcomings out of sheer admiration for his acting prowess. However, the cast and crew bore the brunt of his unkempt habits, often dreading those dreaded days when his presence would force them to run for fresh air. Rourke's troubled grooming routine, juxtaposed with his undeniable talent, remains one of Hollywood's most candid tales of the man behind the myth. Vivien Leigh. Vivien Leigh, immortalized on screen for her mesmerizing beauty and dramatic intensity, was not without her own share of behind-the-scenes whispers. While her performances enchanted audiences, some insiders claimed that off-camera, Leigh's personal hygiene left much to be desired. Although celebrated for her grace, there were murmurs among the crew that her meticulous appearance sometimes masked a less pristine reality. Allegedly, during long, exhausting shoots, the legendary actress would occasionally forego proper grooming, leading to a faint but noticeable odor that left co-stars discreetly crinkling their noses. One veteran makeup artist recalled that, on particularly stressful days, they'd find themselves reaching for extra sprays of perfume to counterbalance an uncharacteristic staleness. These unflattering habits, some whispered, were partly the result of Leigh's relentless work ethic. She often sacrificed personal care in the pursuit of perfection on set. Colleagues lamented that while her talent shone brilliantly in every scene, the residual effects of skipped showers and hurried hair routines became a recurring subject of backstage gossip. Yet, even amid these candid criticisms, Leigh's legacy as one of the most captivating talents of her era remained intact. In the glamorous yet unforgiving world of classic cinema, even legends like Vivien Leigh could not escape the occasional lapse in personal upkeep. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart, the epitome of cool and a symbol of old Hollywood resilience, also carried a reputation that extended beyond his unforgettable performances. Despite his iconic image, behind the scenes, Bogart's personal hygiene became a subject of hushed gossip among crew members and fellow actors. Known for his relentless smoking habit and fondness for a stiff drink, Bogart's routine often left an unmistakable trace of tobacco smoke and stale alcohol in his wake. Colleagues have recounted moments when the acrid smell clung to his clothes, making close interactions less than pleasant. One veteran makeup artist confessed that despite the actor's magnetic charisma, his persistent odor, attributed to both heavy smoking and a disregard for regular grooming, often required extra measures to mask on set. Even in intimate scenes, when audiences saw the cool, detached detective or the jaded hero, there was an unspoken awareness among those working behind the camera. Bogart's scent could betray him. While his signature raspy voice and hard-bitten style captivated millions, the lingering aroma served as a reminder of the man's human vulnerabilities. In a time when personal image was everything, the duality of Bogart's public allure and private neglect became a bittersweet footnote in the annals of Hollywood lore. Mae West. Mae West, celebrated for her sultry charm and audacious wit, was an icon who defied conventional norms, both in her performances and in her personal habits. Behind the dazzling facade of her on-screen persona, whispers of her unorthodox hygiene practices swirled through the corridors of old Hollywood. According to insiders, West was notorious for her reluctance to bathe regularly, a fact that contrasted sharply with her meticulously styled image. Crew members recalled how her dressing room was often left with lingering traces of a pungent aroma that defied even the most liberal applications of perfume. Some fellow actors joked that West's natural scent was as bold and unfiltered as her on-screen dialogue, a rebellious statement against the sanitized glamour of the era. Rumors abounded that the legendary star would occasionally forego the basic rituals of personal care, leaving co-stars to endure the unexpected aftermath during long, arduous shooting schedules. Yet, despite these candid criticisms, West's magnetic presence and razor-sharp humor ensured that her legacy would remain untarnished. In a world obsessed with perfection, Mae West's willingness to break all the rules, even those of personal hygiene, cemented her status as one of Hollywood's most unforgettable and controversial figures. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy, lauded as one of Hollywood's most formidable talents, was revered for his understated performances and commanding screen presence. Yet, behind the scenes, a persistent rumor cast a shadow over his otherwise impeccable reputation. It was widely whispered among crew members that Tracy's battle with alcoholism had led him to neglect the basics of personal care. On numerous film sets, colleagues recalled how his appearance could quickly shift from the picture of suave elegance to that of a man overtaken by the weight of his own habits. The once meticulous actor was said to often arrive on set with an unmistakable odor, a potent mixture of stale sweat and a trace of alcohol, that made close contact challenging. His co-stars, though respectful of his extraordinary talent, were not immune to the discomfort his unkempt state sometimes caused. Behind the camera, production staff would discreetly leave extra toiletries and fresh clothes in his dressing room, hoping to mask the inevitable stench. Even as Tracy delivered performances that captivated audiences, those who worked with him could not help but note the recurring issues with his hygiene. In an industry that prized image almost as much as skill, Spencer Tracy's personal struggles with self-care became a reluctant part of his storied legacy, a bittersweet reminder of the human frailties hidden behind the silver screen. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford, the enduring epitome of Hollywood glamour, maintained a public persona of meticulous perfection. Yet behind closed doors, gossip and whispered rumors painted a far more complicated picture. Long-standing rivalries and backstage feuds often fueled stories about Crawford's less than pristine personal hygiene. Some former household staff and even a few co-stars claimed that while Crawford's on-screen elegance was unmatched, her off-screen routine could be shockingly lax. Tales circulated that she would sometimes forgo regular bathing, leaving behind a lingering odor that was at odds with her impeccably styled image. One bitter anecdote recounts how a fellow actor once confessed that the lingering smell in her dressing room was so pervasive, it had to be masked by an overwhelming cloud of expensive perfume. Critics even suggested that her fastidious obsession with her public image did not extend to the simple, everyday rituals of cleanliness. Whether these stories were exaggerated by jealous rivals or were rooted in bitter truths, they have become an indelible part of Crawford's Hollywood mythology. In a realm where every detail of a star's life was scrutinized, Joan Crawford's personal hygiene became a topic as captivating as her illustrious film career, a scandalous footnote in the annals of old Hollywood. Veronica Lake. Veronica Lake, celebrated as the sultry siren of the 1940s, was not only adored for her mesmerizing peekaboo hairstyle and enigmatic screen presence, but also, as whispered backstage, for an equally notorious personal side. Colleagues recall that beneath the veneer of glamour lay a persistent struggle with personal upkeep. Crew members mentioned that Lake, renowned for her dramatic roles, often neglected routine hair washes, leaving her signature locks to carry a faint, yet unmistakable odor. It was rumored that on hectic days, the smell of unwashed hair would permeate her dressing room, a fact that made close contact scenes a challenge for co-stars. Makeup artists and wardrobe assistants would scramble to mask the lingering scent with extra spritzes of cologne, but even their best efforts could only do so much. The allure of Veronica's on-screen magnetism was, for some, sadly marred by the off-camera reality of inconsistent self-care. As whispers swirled through the set, some insiders lamented that the natural fragrance of her hair was sometimes reminiscent of neglected laundry rather than a refined signature scent. Despite these candid criticisms, Lake's legacy endures as a complex blend of timeless beauty and the raw imperfections of life behind the silver screen. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift, one of Hollywood's most intensely gifted actors, carried with him not only a legacy of deeply emotional performances, but also a shadow of personal neglect. Fellow cast and crew recalled that Clift's internal battles often manifested in his disregard for personal hygiene. His tumultuous life, marked by personal strife and relentless pressure, sometimes left him appearing disheveled, with an unmistakable odor that clung to him like a second skin. Crew members would discreetly pass along fresh clothes and toiletries, hoping to alleviate the pungent reminders of his struggles. In intimate scenes, whispers spread among colleagues that the scent of stale sweat and unwashed garments made close encounters rather challenging. Despite his magnetic talent and the raw vulnerability he brought to every role, Clift's personal care issues became an unintended hallmark of his later years. Observers noted that the very intensity that fueled his art also contributed to his neglect, as bouts of depression and substance abuse led him to forego basic routines. Though his cinematic legacy remains untarnished by his off-screen battles, those who worked with him can't help but recall a man whose brilliance was interwoven with the human frailties of poor hygiene. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor, a name synonymous with glamour and sophistication, also harbored a lesser-known secret behind her dazzling smile. Despite her reputation for perfection and meticulous elegance, backstage whispers hinted at a more unrefined side. Some colleagues noted that Taylor's fierce commitment to her art occasionally took precedence over basic self-care routines. There were hushed conversations about how the stress of her demanding schedule sometimes resulted in lapses in her personal hygiene, an irony that shocked those who expected nothing less from the queen of Hollywood glamour. Makeup artists recalled moments when extra measures were taken to freshen her up before close-up scenes, ensuring that her enchanting allure was not marred by an uncharacteristic odor. The dichotomy between her on-screen radiance and off-screen neglect became fodder for gossip, with some insiders lamenting that the pressures of fame had left her unable to maintain her own standards. Even in private, trusted assistants mentioned the need for discreet reminders to address her hygiene before important events. Taylor's complex legacy thus includes not only her immortal films, but also the bittersweet realities of a star who, like so many others, sometimes struggled to balance her personal well-being with the demands of relentless stardom. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow, famously known as the blonde bombshell, dazzled audiences with her effervescent charm and vivacious energy. Yet behind the glitz, there lingered tales of personal neglect. It is said that Harlow's hectic lifestyle and constant partying led her to overlook the basics of personal hygiene, a fact that did not escape the notice of her co-stars and crew. Rumors swirled that on marathon filming days, the signature scent of Harlow's unwashed attire could rival even the most pungent odors. Makeup artists recalled with a mix of exasperation and humor how they had to continually combat an overpowering aroma in her dressing room, resorting to a veritable arsenal of sprays and fresheners. The glamorous icon's disregard for regular bathing became an infamous part of her legend, a stark contrast to the sparkling image she projected on screen. Fellow actors whispered that Harlow's scent, much like her fiery on-screen persona, was both intoxicating and overwhelming, leaving little room for intimacy during close contact scenes. In the relentless whirlwind of Hollywood's golden era, Jean Harlow's personal care missteps became the subject of countless backstage jokes and gossip, a reminder that even the most luminous stars sometimes fall short of the high standards they set for themselves. Gertrude Hartley. Gertrude Hartley, a figure shrouded in the mystique of early Hollywood, was known as much for her eccentric personal habits as for her involvement in the film industry's bustling creative scene. Insiders reveal that Gertrude's approach to personal hygiene was unconventional at best, often sparking whispered debates among fellow crew members. It was said that she routinely eschewed the modern conveniences of regular bathing and meticulous grooming in favor of a more natural, if unrefined, lifestyle. Colleagues recalled how her dressing room carried a persistent, earthy aroma that some compared to the scent of an overgrown garden left untended. Hairdressers and makeup artists would labor diligently to conceal the odor with lavish amounts of perfume, but even then, the unmistakable trace of neglect would occasionally emerge during intimate, close-up moments. Some insiders argued that Gertrude's apparent indifference was a deliberate rejection of Hollywood's artificial polish, a claim met with equal parts admiration and dismay. Despite the sporadic compliments for her unorthodox charm, the persistent odor became a point of contention and light-hearted ridicule among the studio's inner circle. Gertrude Hartley's legacy, intertwined with both creative brilliance and personal eccentricity, remains a fascinating, if somewhat pungent, chapter in the annals of film history. Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier, the titan of the stage and screen, captivated audiences worldwide with his refined artistry. But behind the curtain, an unexpected facet of his personal habits stirred quiet controversy. Colleagues have recounted in hushed tones that Olivier's dedication to the dramatic often came at a personal cost, with reports suggesting that his fastidious focus on performance sometimes led him to neglect basic hygiene. On long, exhausting rehearsal days, insiders noted that a faint, unintentional odor would accompany him, a byproduct of skipping a shower in favor of preparing his mind for the role ahead. Costumers and makeup artists found themselves in a constant battle against this subtle yet persistent aroma, resorting to extra layers of fragrance to preserve the star's illustrious image. Though his commanding presence on screen was undeniable, behind the scenes, the whispered gossip of his unpolished moments became an ironic counterpoint to his meticulous public persona. Some members of his troupe even joked that his scent was as formidable as his performances, a reminder that even great legends are not immune to the common frailties of human nature. In the rare instances when the issue was addressed, Olivier would smile wryly, suggesting that his passion for art always trumped the mundane necessities of everyday care. His enduring legacy, therefore, is as much about his transcendent talent as it is about the very human imperfections that made him relatable. David O. Selznick. David O. Selznick, the legendary producer behind some of Hollywood's most monumental films, was as renowned for his visionary leadership as he was for an unexpected personal shortcoming. Behind the scenes in his bustling studio, whispers of Selznick's lax approach to personal hygiene often swirled amid discussions of his cinematic genius. Trusted assistants and production staff recalled that, during marathon shooting days, Selznick's focus on the art of filmmaking sometimes led him to neglect the basics of self-care. It was not uncommon for those working in his inner circle to note a lingering, unmistakable odor in his private office, a scent that many attributed to skipped showers and long hours spent buried in script revisions. Costume designers and makeup artists would on occasion find themselves laboring to neutralize the odor with potent sprays and colognes, striving to maintain the impeccable image demanded by the studio. Though his contributions to cinema were immeasurable, this personal habit became a source of quiet amusement and occasional frustration among his colleagues. Selznick, Ever the consummate professional, rarely acknowledged the gossip, instead channeling his energy into producing films that would define an era. Yet, the unintentional legacy of his neglect, an enduring reminder that even the most brilliant minds are not immune to everyday human lapses, remains a quirky footnote in the annals of Hollywood lore. Stanley Kramer. Stanley Kramer, celebrated as one of Hollywood's most socially conscious directors, left an indelible mark on the industry with films that challenged the status quo. However, behind his visionary work lay a lesser-known chapter of personal neglect that has become a topic of hushed backstage chatter. Colleagues and crew members have recounted that during long shooting schedules, Kramer's focus on crafting powerful, message-driven cinema often led him to overlook basic personal hygiene. It was said that his office and on-set presence were occasionally tainted by a subtle, persistent odor. A reminder that his mind was perpetually occupied with the weighty issues his films sought to address. Production staff would discreetly employ extra measures to freshen the air in his immediate vicinity, while makeup and costume teams whispered about the challenges of working with a director whose personal care sometimes lagged behind his creative brilliance. This particular shortcoming, though rarely discussed openly, became an ironic counterpoint to Kramer's public image as a man of impeccable taste and moral integrity. Even as his films sparked important conversations about society and justice, the whispered gossip of his personal habits served as a stark reminder of the human side of even the most influential artists. Stanley Kramer's legacy endures not only through his groundbreaking work, but also as a testament to the reality that behind every great visionary lies a series of very human imperfections,